welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards under $1. I'm David, and this is the enigmatic Mado.
Hey!
Today we're going to talk about fun and balanced duel decks. Now these duel decks are all 60 cards, 2 colors, and meant to be a perfect match against any of the other decks within this series.
And best of all, all cards are under $1. So each deck costs an average of like $11.
That's right. Today we're going to be looking at the Orzhov Syndicate. This is a white and black deck.
The guild mechanic is extort. So whenever you cast a spell, you can pay a black or white mana. And then all your opponents loses 1 life and you gain that much life.
That's right. So the deck playstyle is going to be to set up a defensive blockade and then slowly siphon off your opponent's life, and you will be gaining that much life. With that in mind, let's have a look at the creatures.
So we're going to start with our guild champion, Teza in Void of the Ghost. For 7 mana, you get a 4/4 vigilant protection from creatures. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, destroy that creature. Put a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying into the battlefield.
Yeah, it may seem like 7 is a lot of mana, and it is a lot of mana, but this card will single-handedly win you games. I mean, the fact that it's got protection from creatures and vigilance means you're going to be attacking with this creature every turn. You can still block anything you want. It won't die to creatures. On top of that, if they attack you, that's fine. You take the damage. You'll probably be gaining the life later on, and whatever dealt damage to you that turn, that creature will die, and you get a little flying spirit. Not too shabby.
Then we have Nip Gwillian for 1 mana, a 1/1 lifelink.
You know, nothing to write home about. Starts on the battlefield pretty early and can start gaining a little bit of life.
Then we have Dutiful Throw for 1 mana. You get a 1/1, and for 1 black mana you can regenerate it.
Also very small guys, not going to be doing a lot of damage, but because it has regenerate, it can block with the best of them.
Elite Vanguard for 1 mana. You get a 2/1.
Vanilla, nothing to write home about. Also, if it comes in turn 1, it's going to do a lot of damage at the beginning parts of the game. Otherwise, you're going to use it to block.
Then we have Throw Parasite. For 1 mana, you get a 1/1 extort. Tap it, pay 2 life, remove a counter from target non-life permanent.
Yeah, so here we have the first card that has extort, which means that whenever another card is going to be coming into into play, you're going to be able to pay a mana, and then you're going to be able to extort, which means your opponents lose a life, you gain that much life. That's going to be super handy. On top of that, there may be some decks you can be playing against which have counters, and it's nice to be able to remove those counters from them. So Thrall Parasite does that.
Morning Thrall. For 2 mana, you get a 1/1 flying, and whenever Mountain Thrall deals damage, you gain that much life.
Yeah, so it's pretty much a 1/1 flyer with lifelink, not too shabby.
Basilica Screecher. For 2 mana, a 1/2 flying and extort.
Yeah, this guy also has extort, and on top of that, for just 2 mana, it's also a flyer, so it's going to be able to do a lot of damage because it has an evasion.
Then we have Tide Drinker. For 2 mana, you get a 2/1 lifelink and extort.
Yeah, 2 mana, 2/1, pretty decent. The lifelink helps out, and the extort also helps out.
Then we have Viscopia Guild Mage. For 2 mana, you get a 2/2. For 3 mana, target creature gains lifelink until the end of the turn. And then for 3 mana, whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life.
Yeah, and a lot of these creatures already have lifelink, so then the first one isn't necessary for that. You do have some really big creatures, which we'll look at later, which don't have lifelink. In that case, the first ability is going to be super handy. With all the other creatures that we have that already have lifelink, then the second ability is super handy because you're basically going to be doing double damage to your opponents with this ability.
High Priest of Penance. For 2 mana, you get a 1/1, and whenever High Priest Penance is dealt damage, you may destroy target non-life permanent.
Yeah, pretty much this card might as well say you put this guy on the battlefield and nobody's going to attack into you ever unless it has evasion. Why? Because you're always going to want to block with this guy and then destroy their most important thing. So this guy is critical to have on the battlefield.
Basilica Guards. For 3 mana, you get a 1/4 defender with extort.
Yeah, very simple. You can't attack with it. It is a defender, but you do have another instant extort. Plus, on turn 3, have something with a butt so big, 4 toughness is huge.
Scholar of Arthreos. For 3 mana, you get a 1/4. And for 3 mana, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way.
Yeah, very similar to Basilica Guards in the sense that it's the same power and toughness, and it has kind of extort built into it for 3 mana, so it's a little bit more expensive, but since you can just pay mana, you can do it as many times as you have mana for it.
Then we have Blind Zealot. For 3 mana, you get a 2/2 with Intimidate. Whenever Blind Zealot deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. If you do, destroy target creature that player controls.
Yeah, super handy. Nice little remover. On top of that, you're also attacking, you're dealing damage. The evasion is going to make sure you're probably going to get through. So it might as well say, you know, turn after you cast this, deal 2 damage to an opponent and destroy their best thing.
Then we have Kingpin's Bed. For 3 mana, you get a 2/2 flying and extort.
Very simple. Flying, extort. It's a 2/2. What's not to love?
Restless Apparition. For 3 mana, you get a 2/2. And if you pay 3 mana, Restless Apparition get +3/+3 until the end of the turn. It also has Persist.
Yeah, this is a great mana sink card because if you have an additional 3 mana left open, you can turn it into a 5/5. You can do this at instant speed, so you can attack with it. People don't know what you're going to do. Are you going to pump it or you're not? If it dies, it comes back. And if you don't, you can cast another spell. So it's great for attacking and for blocking because people don't know what you're going to do with it.
Vampire Nighthawk. For 3 mana, you get a 2/3 flyer with Death Touch and Lifelink.
Yeah, I don't know about this card. I don't think this card's that good. What do you think?
I think it's awesome.
Oh, maybe it is awesome. I mean,
you just kill everything and even gain life with it.
That is insane. Who designed this card? Anyway, Vampire Nighthawk, you have it, you do a little dance, and you cast it. That's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Yeah. Harvest Grillion. For 4 mana, you get a 2/4 with Wither.
Yeah, so Wither is basically the same as regular damage, except to creatures, it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters. That means those regenerate creatures, those indestructible creatures, can still be destroyed by this guy. So it's pretty versatile.
King's Knights of Obligation. For 4 mana, you get a 2/4 Vigilance with Extort.
Yeah, also you're going to be attacking a lot with this guy because he's got Vigilance, so you can attack, you can still block with it. Another instance of Distort is handy, and it's a 2/4, so it's going to be tough to be killed in combat.
Voracious Headsling. For 4 mana, you get a 6/6 with Lifelink. It comes into play with 4 -1/-1 counters, but they leave whenever you play a white spell or a black spell.
Yeah, this is super nice because you may think, okay, this guy comes in, he's a 2/2, but almost all your cards are multicolored, so you're going to be removing 2 counters at a time. You cast 2 multicolored spells. This thing is a 6/6 lifelinker, and you only cast it for 4 mana. That is insane.
Then we have Alms Beast. For 4 mana, you get a 6/6, and creatures blocking or blocked by Alms Beast have lifelink.
Yeah, so Alms Beast does not have lifelink. The creatures that your opponents use to block, or if he blocks those creatures, those do have lifelink. But that doesn't really matter because you paid 4 mana for a 6/6.
Sentry of the Underworld. For 5 mana, you get a 3/3 with Vigilance and Flying. If you pay 2 mana and 3 life, regenerate
this guy. Yeah, regenerate this guy. 3/3 flying. Vigilance is nice as well because you can attack, you can block with it, and the fact that you can regenerate it for 2 is going to be super nice for blocking big threats. You may think, oh my god, I gotta pay 3 life, but it's not a big deal because we gain so much life in this deck anyway.
Treasury Throw. For 6 mana, you get a 4/4 with Extort, and whenever Treasury Throw attacks, you may return target artifact, creature, or enchantment from your card from your graveyard to your hand.
Yeah, that's right. This card is super handy because it says, so it has the Extort, which is already nice. Top of that's a 4/4, and it says whenever you attack. So it doesn't need to deal combat damage, doesn't need to deal damage to an opponent. It just when you attack, then you get to get that card, get that value, put it back into your hand. So you're pretty much always going to be on top when you're casting Treasury Throw and attacking with it.
Bloodgift Demon. For 5 mana, you get a 5/4 with Flying. And at the beginning of your upkeep, target player draws a card and you lose 1 life.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite card from the deck because pretty much as long as you don't have 1 life, you're always going to be targeting yourself and drawing that extra card. So you can be drawing 2 cards a turn. Sure, you got to pay a life, but as we said already, you're going to be gaining so much life anyway, it doesn't really matter. And it's a 5/4 demon. That's crazy big.
Pontiff of Blight. For 6 mana, you get a 2/7 with Extort. Other creatures you control also have Extort.
Yeah, when we're talking about butts, then nobody has a bigger butt than a Pontiff of Blight because that 7 is insane toughness. Nothing on the land is going to get through that. They're going to need evasion or flying or something to get through that. On top of that, all your other creatures have Extort. Important to remember is that even if your creature already has Extort, it'll get another instance of Extort. So you're going to be able to bleed your opponents dry when you have Pontiff of Blight on the battlefield and a ton of little creatures. Well, those are the creatures. Let's have a look at the enchantments. This deck has 3 enchantments.
The first one is Pillory of the Sleepless. It costs 3 mana. Enchanted creature can attack or block. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life.
Yeah, this is a really good enchantment because it shuts down your opponent's biggest thing. Can't attack, can't block, and if you cast it nice and early in the game, they're going to be losing a lot of life over the course of the game.
The second one is Edge of Divinity. It costs 1 mana. As long as an enchanted creature is white, it gets +1/+2. As long as the creature is black, it gets +2/+1.
Yeah, basically, you're only going to want to cast this on your white and black creatures, and then essentially they're going to get +3/+3 for just 1 mana. Very effective.
The third one is Gift of Orzhov. It costs 3 mana. Until the creature gets +1/+1, has flying and lifelink.
Yeah, so you just pump your creature a little bit, you give it evasion and also lifelink, which is exactly what this deck wants to do. Go in, hit hard, and gain that life. Well, those are the enchantments. Let's have a look at the artifacts. This deck has 3 artifacts.
The first one is Orzhov Syndicate. You pay 3 mana for it. Tap it, and you can add white or black to your mana pool. You can also pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it, and you draw a card.
Yeah, this card is really good because it mana ramps you, it mana fixes you. On top of that, later on in the game, when you have enough mana, you can just sacrifice it for maybe something better.
Then we have Orzhov Syndicate for 3 mana. You can tap it, also add white or black to your mana pool. You can pay 2, and it will turn into a 1/4 black and white artifact creature with lifelink.
Yeah, this is actually the same as the Orzhov Cluestone, also gives you mana, but instead of drawing you a card, you can turn it into a creature, maybe to block, it's got lifelink, gains you a little life. Not too bad, nothing too impressive, but decent.
Then we have Tainted Sigil for 3 mana. Tap it, sacrifice it, and you gain life equal to the total life you lost by players this turn.
Yeah, so in this deck you really want to gain life, and this card helps you do that when you deal a lot of damage to your opponent, or when you've gotten a lot of damage dealt to you, you can basically nullify all that damage by sacrificing Tainted Sigil. Very handy. Those are the artifacts. Let's have a look at the instants and sorceries.
Orzhov Charm for 2 mana. Choose 1 out of 3. Return target creature you control and all auras you control attached to it to their owner's hand. The second one is to destroy target creature and you lose life equal to its toughness. The third one is return target creature card with converted mana cost 1 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, this is a super handy, very versatile card. You get to either do 1 of 3 things, either protect one of your creatures by returning it back to your hand, destroy a creature that's giving you problems, or you get to return a very small, seemingly insignificant creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. Could be useful, you could trade with something, you could use it to block. Very versatile in general.
Then we have a black and white fuse card. Profit for 2 mana. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till the end of the turn. Loss, 3 mana. Creatures you control, your opponent control, get -1/-1 until the end of the turn.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that good if it was your creatures that you would get -1/-1. But if you cast these both together, then your creatures get +1/+1. Your opponent's creatures -1/-1. It can be a total blowout, all for just 5 mana.
Area Maneuver for 2 mana. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying and first strike until the end of the turn.
Yeah, very handy. If your opponent attacks with a flyer, they don't think you can block, you can give one of your creatures flying, +1/+1, and first strike. You're probably going to be able to kill that flyer. On the other hand, when you're attacking, you could give one of your creatures before you declare attackers flying, and then it's got evasion, maybe they can't block you. Very versatile, a lot of uses.
Surprise.
Yeah, big surprise.
Castigate for 2 mana. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. Choose a non-land card from it. Remove the card from the game.
Yeah, very simple. You just get to play this very early. You want to play this early. Look at what your opponent's got in their hand. On top of that, you remove the biggest threat that could potentially cause you problems. You get rid of that. That card is exiled.
Executioner's Swing for 2 mana. Target creature that dealt damage this turn gets -5/-5 until the end of the turn.
Yeah, this is actually really handy removal. It gets rid of almost everything. -5/-5 is a lot. On top of that, creatures with regenerate can regenerate from it. Creatures with indestructible, the toughness is good, reduced below 0, will also get removed. However, it is important to remember that you have to target a creature that's dealt damage this turn, so you can't do it before combat. You're going to have to do this after combat, after they've already dealt damage to you. So remember that.
Zealous Persecution for 2 mana. Until the end of the turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and creatures your opponents control get -1/-1.
Yeah, it's basically
Loss
profit and loss and profit. You cast those two together, and it's very, very cheap. So when you're going to cast this, it's going to be a major blowout, great against token creatures, for example.
Mortify for 3 mana. Destroy target creature or enchantment.
Yeah, so pretty much you just look at whatever creature or enchantment is giving you problems, you look at it, you get rid of that one. Very simple.
Obstas 8 for 5 mana. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, it's good. It says permanent, so it doesn't have to be a creature. You can be creature, it could be an enchantment, it could be an artifact. You get the best thing that's in your graveyard, you put it back into the battlefield, you don't have to cast it, It's not instant speed, it's sorcery, so you can't do it as a surprise, but still super, super powerful and very, very handy. Those are the instant sorceries. Let's have a look at the lands.
The lands are divided between 9 plains, 9 swamps, and 4 guild gates.
Yeah, it's a very simple mana distribution, just the same as all the other decks, gives you the colors you need. That's pretty much it. Let's have a look at the conclusion.
So in conclusion, it's a really fun and easy deck to play with. You make sure your opponents lose a lot of life, and you gain like a lot of life too.
Yeah, I really love it because you can play defensively. You're going to be siphoning off your opponent's life. They keep on losing life as the game progresses. You keep on gaining more and more with the Extort, with the lifelink. Plus you got some pretty juicy flyers as well to deal loads and loads of damage. It is a lot of fun. Plus it's also pretty affordable, right?
Yeah, it's $11.78.
Pretty nice. Now we're going to ask you guys to press that subscribe button, because if you subscribe, it lets us know we're doing a good job. On top of that, you'll be notified when new videos come out, and you'll help us spread the word and let other people know about this channel. Really, really appreciate that. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'm David.
I'm Merel.
And this was Budget MTG Decks.